What if I told you that some of the most famous songs of all time are copies? Hold on. It's not plagiarism, but covers that completely overshadowed the originals. From Elvis Presley to Soft Cell, these tracks conquered the world, but started in ways you'd never imagine. That the classic Hound Dog, immortalized by Elvis Presley in 1956, wasn't originally his? The song was first recorded by Big Mama Thornton in 1952. Elvis discovered Hound Dog through a lighter version by Freddie Bell and the Bellboys. Interestingly, Elvis's version altered the original lyrics, shifting the focus from criticizing an unfaithful man to a more literal reference to a dog. This adaptation made the song more palatable for the audience of the time, but also strayed from the powerful message in Big Mama Thornton's recording. While many associate Hound Dog exclusively with Elvis Presley, it's essential to recognize the song's deep roots in blues and the significant contribution of Big Mama Thornton to its creation and early popularity.
Georgia, Georgia.
You probably know Georgia on My Mind, as sung by the unmistakable voice of Ray Charles, but the song's story goes way back. It was composed in 1930 by Hoagy Carmichael, with lyrics by Stuart Gurrell, and was already a masterpiece before Ray turned it into an eternal hit.
Georgia, Georgia.
The original version by Hoagy Carmichael featured a softer arrangement typical of jazz from that era, but in 1960, Ray Charles gave the song a new soul by blending elements of soul, blues, and gospel. This combination earned the song a Grammy and transformed it into an emotional anthem, even becoming the official state song of Georgia in 1979. Fun fact, Hoagy Carmichael always maintained that the lyrics were not about the state, but a woman named Georgia. However, Ray Charles' rendition added such depth and emotion that it resonated far beyond its original intent, touching the hearts of millions. Imagine this, turning an almost forgotten song into a cultural icon. That's the genius of Ray Charles. His version elevated Georgia on My Mind to another level, and decades later, it remains a standard of musical perfection. Did you know that I Fought the Law, one of the greatest punk rock classics by The Clash, actually started as a 1960s rock song? The original version was recorded by the Crickets in 1960, a band that emerged after Buddy Holly's death.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the...
Written by Sonny Curtis, the song had a softer feel, but already carried a rebellious spirit in its lyrics. In 1979, The Clash took this track and turned it into a punk anthem against the system. With aggressive guitars and raw energy, the band breathed new life into the song, making it a rallying cry of resistance and defiance. Their version perfectly fit the cultural moment amid social and political tensions. Fun fact, Sonny Curtis himself loved The Clash's version, saying they captured the song's essence perfectly. And it's no wonder, Joe Strummer's energy and the band's signature sound made this cover a milestone in punk music history.
Oh, tainted love.
Did you know that the hit, Tainted Love, which ruled the dance floors of the 80s with Soft Cell, is actually a cover? The song was originally recorded by Gloria Jones in 1965 as an infectious soul track.
Oh, tainted love. Tainted love.
At the time, Gloria's version didn't gain much attention, but later achieved cult status in the 70s. It wasn't until 1981 that Soft Cell took the track and completely reinvented it. They turned Tainted Love into a synth-pop classic with electronic beats and a dark edge that defined the 80s. The cover was a massive success, topping charts worldwide and becoming a new wave anthem. Fun fact, Mark Almond, Soft Cell's vocalist, discovered the song at an underground club in London and became obsessed with it. His emotional delivery and the minimalist production gave the track an impact the original never achieved. Today, Tainted Love is remembered as one of the greatest covers of all time, showing how a brilliant musical idea can be reborn and captivate new generations. You might think Piece of My Heart was written specifically for Janis Joplin's powerful voice, but it actually existed before becoming one of the biggest hits of the 60s. The original recording was released by Irma Franklin, Aretha Franklin's sister, in 1967.
Take another little piece of my heart now, baby.
Irma's version had a soulful vibe, full of emotion, but it didn't make much noise on the charts. The following year, Janis Joplin, along with her band Big Brother and the Holding Company, took the song and turned it into a visceral cry of pain and freedom. With her unique, gritty delivery, Janis gave the song a raw energy that captured the audience and dominated the airwaves. Her version is considered one of the greatest vocal performances in rock history. Fun fact, when Irma Franklin heard Janis's version for the first time, she was so impressed she had to sit down. She admitted she never imagined the song could be sung that way, but Janis had captured the essence of the lyrics perfectly. Indeed, Piece of My Heart shows how a song can grow in the hands of an artist who deeply understands it. To this day, Janis Joplin's version is the one that comes to mind when we think of the song. One of the Beatles' most iconic songs was originally recorded in 1961 by the Top Notes, produced by none other than Phil Spector. While it had a danceable vibe, the original version didn't achieve much success. 2 years later, the Beatles turned Twist and Shout into a rock classic. Recorded in just one take during the Please Please Me sessions, John Lennon's performance was so intense that his voice was nearly gone by the end. And here's the kicker. This was the last song recorded during the session because Lennon was completely out of breath. Before the Beatles, the Isley Brothers also recorded Twist and Shout in 1962, adding an R&B flair that caught some attention. However, it was the Beatles' raw energy and attitude that immortalized the song, shooting it to the top of the charts. Few songs possess the power of All Along the Watchtower, immortalized by Jimi Hendrix in 1968. But did you know this masterpiece began with Bob Dylan in 1967?
There must be some way out of here, said the Joker to the...
Released on the album John Wesley Harding, Dylan's version was minimalist and introspective, focusing on lyrics filled with symbolism and mystery. When Hendrix heard the song, he envisioned something far beyond. His reimagining brought an explosive energy, with guitar solos that became iconic. The impact was so profound that even Bob Dylan admitted that after hearing Hendrix's version, he began performing it live, inspired by the guitarist's interpretation. Fun fact, Hendrix dedicated countless hours in the studio perfecting every detail of the track, recording multiple takes to achieve the sound he imagined. The result? One of the most acclaimed covers in rock history, transforming Dylan's song into a universal anthem. Who hasn't sung along to I Love Rock and Roll, thinking it was an original Joan Jett classic? The truth is, the song was first recorded by the British band The Arrows in 1975. Written by Alan Merrill and Jake Hooker, when Joan Jett first heard the song, she was so impressed that she decided to create her own version. With heavy guitars and a rebellious attitude, Joan transformed I Love Rock and Roll into a rock anthem that dominated the charts in the early 80s. It became the biggest hit of her career, spending 7 consecutive weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. Fun fact, Joan Jett initially recorded the song with 2 members of the Sex Pistols before forming the Blackhearts. However, it was her version with the band that took the world by storm. Alan Merrill, one of the song's co-writers, said Joan's performance was so powerful that it felt like the song had been written just for her. Would you believe that Torn, Natalie Imbruglia's biggest hit, isn't an original song? Before it became a global sensation in 1997, the track was recorded by the alternative US band Edna Swap in 1995. I'm all out of faith. This is how I feel. The original version had a darker, more introspective tone, quite different from Natalie's emotional pop approach. When Natalie re-recorded Torn, she brought a lighter and more melodic interpretation that quickly won over audiences and became one of the most played songs of the 90s. Her version topped charts in multiple countries and became the soundtrack to countless emotional moments. Fun fact, Anne Previn, one of the songwriters and a member of Edna Swap, said she found it amazing how Natalie's interpretation brought Torn to a much wider audience, even with such a different approach from the original. The song defined a generation and remains one of the standout hits of the 90s. Torn proves that, in the right hands, a cover can turn into a global phenomenon. Widely considered one of the most beautiful songs of all time, Hallelujah was originally composed and recorded by Leonard Cohen in 1984. Despite its poetic depth, Cohen's version was largely overlooked at the time. A decade later, Jeff Buckley breathed new life into the song. His rendition, featured on the Grace album, is intimate, vulnerable, and deeply emotional. With just his voice and a guitar, Buckley turned Hallelujah into an almost spiritual experience that resonated across generations. Leonard Cohen, upon hearing Buckley's version, remarked that it was incredible how the song had taken on new meanings, far beyond what he had envisioned when writing it. Today, Buckley's version is the most recognized and is considered definitive by many fans.
The baffled king composing hallelujah.
It's fascinating how some of the songs that define generations began in such different ways, isn't it? Each cover proves that a great song never dies. It just reinvents itself. Whether in Janis Joplin's powerful voice or Jeff Buckley's visceral interpretation, these tracks show how art always finds new ways to touch us. Now it's your turn. Which of these stories did you find the most amazing? Or do you know of another cover that didn't make the list? Let us know in the comments. Check out these other videos popping up on your screen. See you next time.